will be great. I hope you'll be able to read it. It was initially designed, obviously, for a large screen, but nevertheless, I hope you'll be able to read it. I've been in the sport 65 years, so there's a lot to tell you. So we could go on for a long time, but I have promised Doug that I'll actually be as brief as I possibly can in the circumstances. That's the last slide, Doug. So we can all go home now. All right.
Well,
okay.
I thought it was going to be a brief talk. You know.
Anyway, thank you very much to Mike Turner for asking me to do this presentation. I've done a few to the club over the years, and the last one was after the 2012 Olympics, but I didn't want to obviously repeat that. So I've tried to sort of look at how running has changed over the years since I've been organising events, and that is actually 35 years ago. And just looking around the people here today, David Hutchins and John Presdy have both been with me over the 35 years that we've been organising events. And the first one we did was the Chichester Half Marathon. Doug, if you could give me the first slide. We'll move on, please.
Is that the one?
I just thought I would give a little bit of a list of the sort of things that are involved. Those of you who work closely with me on the 10K today will be very familiar with this. But in actual fact, some of it, in actual fact, is new from what we did 35 years ago. I deliberately haven't put risk assessment on there, for example, because 35 years ago, we wouldn't have done a risk assessment. And just you think how important it is today. Anything about risk and risk management would have been in the event management plan. But those are the things that we've done. Some of those have actually we've been mechanised or improved by technology, and others, in actual fact, have just changed by the very nature of the business, by the very nature of the society we're in, and the necessity to provide a lot more information than we did 35 years ago. Next slide, please. I just thought I would give you an indication, and can you just flick on, Doug, because there's some narrative that goes with it. But that's an indication of what my dining room looked like 35 years ago. With and the half marathon was larger than the 10K in actual fact, funnily enough. I think probably because there were less races to go to in those days. But at its zenith, there were 3,000 runners in the half marathon. And so you can imagine that we had 3,000 envelopes coming through my door, and each envelope contained a check, it contained an application form, and a stamped addressed envelope. And just think of the clerical effort involved in that and the time-consuming amount of work. So, and then the other point I would make is that it was very much a separate operation. Each activity was it was not in any way integrated. It was separate activities. Moving on, if I can, Doug, to looking at the various activities. Obviously, registration, banking, pre-race information. We had to feed in information manually, and the results were separated from the rest of the operation. Moving on again, Doug, to what we have more today, and that is all the data in effect. And this is one of the most significant changes in the last 30 odd years, is that the information, the basic information of individual runners is fed in by themselves. So it's all a question of online application forms. No longer do we get application forms coming through the door. They are actually there online. Payment is online, and registration is online, and all the basic details are online. And that's quite critical because obviously it saves a lot of administration. I'm not saying that, you know, there haven't been evolving times over the last few years, but we are at a situation now where actually nobody, or virtually nobody, there might be the odd one or two, actually send a check in to register. And the other critical point about how we've developed is that all this basic information now is not only used in terms of registration, in terms of information going out to runners, it also provides the information to produce the results. And results, as those of you who are involved in the race will know, is quite critical and very important to all those who take part. Another change, in actual fact, is that now the results and some of the admin is actually outsourced to a company specialising in provision of results and so forth. Next slide, please. So the advantages, I think, are fairly obvious, and I won't necessarily go through them because obviously I could go on for a lot of time. But just halfway down the page, another major change that's happened since the early days of organising races is the development of websites. If you go back to when we first had a race in Chichester, all we had was the Observer, Radio Solent, and the postal system to get our information out. Now we have a fairly sophisticated website which has been enhanced by a local website designer. Mike Clark was our first webmaster, and over the years, through Alan Wells, Bob Syme, and so forth, we've actually improved to a significant website. And now, not only is there the basic information, you can go back and see results over 4 years, picture galleries, information on how to get to the race, history of the race, and all this sort of thing. So there's a mound of information is now available about our race on the website. Thank you. Next one. I just thought I'd spend a few moments talking about online mapping, CAD, and all these sort of things. And there you can see one of the basic maps that we produced about the old 10K before it moved to Goodwood. And that map was produced by tracing from an ordnance survey map. And that's how we used to do it. Things have moved on. The next slide, please. You can see just how sophisticated it's become. This map is solely about traffic management. And on this map, there are just two things essentially being shown. The red dots, which you can see, are road closures, and the yellow dots are diversions. For the old 10K course, there were 14 of these maps. For the Goodwood course now, we have a file which in paper is 1.5 centimetres thick. Just imagine how much effort that would have been to have produced that manually. Next slide, please. Moving on, the next major development or significant development in terms of improving race results and race administration and actually using the technology is the use of the chip. If you see that first number in the middle of the screen at the top of the page, that's all we had in the early days. It was a number, a basic number, attached to people's vests at the front with four safety pins. And at the finish of a race, we had an army of recorders, 4 people taking times and about 12 people actually taking positions. And all this was recorded manually. And the idea was that those 2 sets of sheets, the timing sheets at the front, the positions at the back, would then go over to a race office and be merged together to produce the results. And Doug will remember this because for the first 2 years, him and Carol just used to sit in Henry Adams's office for a few hours trying to work out what the results are. When you think, and just as an indication, the race was 11 o'clock, the winners would be home by 11:30, and prize giving wouldn't be until about 1:30 or even later some days. Now, with chip timing, the race starts at 9:30, the winners are in by 10, and the presentation to those winners is by 10 past 10. So an incredible improvement in terms of the service we provide to runners. If I could just actually just indicate 2 things on this slide. Down the bottom there, the sort of orangey brown tag is a chip we used for a long time and went on runners' shoes. And at the top there is what the latest tag system looks like. It's like the old runner's number, but attached to the back is the tag, which contains the information. And if I can move on to the next slide, please, Doug. You will there see an indication of what happens in terms of how the information is transmitted from the runner to the results service. So in a 10K of our size, we have 4 maps, 2 at the beginning, 2 at the end. And the reason we have two is one is obviously a backup. When the runner goes over that mat, it triggers a wave which actually goes from his tag or chip on the back of his number down to the mats and then into a storage box where it's decoded, and then it's transmitted to the computer system which produces the results. And virtually instantaneous. So that, you know, within seconds of the runner crossing the mat, we have a result service. Thank you. Next slide. And there basically are the advantages. We've got a quick, accurate, reliable service. And whereas before it could be Wednesday or Thursday before these results got onto the website, now but by 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon of the Sunday, the results are available. The queries are coming in, and you know we're able to let people know what their position is, how well they've done, and all the basic information. And indeed, next slide, please, Doug. You'll see by the time they get in their car or they're on the way home, individually, they will have on their mobile phone an indication of what they've done, how well they've done, their position, their time, and also what we call in the trade the category, in other words, male, female, or different age groups. In a bigger race, of course, these can be very important in terms of emergencies and so forth, because a bigger race, a marathon or whatever, would have more mats than we would have, and at various intervals, you will be able to track where those runners go. But for us on a 10K, it's not necessary to provide any intervening times. So we just provide the one time. If we can move on again, please. This is a way how things have changed in terms of how we can provide some assistance to families and friends. When I started running, if my family wanted to come and see me, we'd have to work out roughly where I would be at a certain point of time. And if I was in a good mood, I'd say, oh, just over 6-minute miling, perhaps 7-minute miling or whatever. And we work out roughly where I'd be. But there would be no indication as to whether I was actually at that point of time when the family arrived. But now, with the position whereby positions are sent to mobile phones, you can actually work out exactly where you are. And for example, this is a Cutty Sark in the London Marathon, which is about 6 miles. And so therefore, on this, there are probably 5 5-mile mats and 8 5-kilometre mats. And so therefore, if you say, right, Jessop has passed the 5-mile mark, then you'd know that he would be coming up to the Cutty Sark. If you'd actually gone past the 10-kilometre mark, which is obviously 6.2 miles, then you'd know you'd missed him. And so that was obviously a much more better way of actually keeping friends informed of where you are. And I used it for my son when he ran the Amsterdam Marathon, and it really worked extremely well. Next slide, please. There's just a map of the London Marathon, just to show you the sort of the logistics of what would be involved. And there's, if you see B, almost bottom right of your screen, there's the Cutty Sark, 6 miles in. And then you could actually plan your day from there on. Where were you going to go and where do you expect to be, and so forth. Some people would perhaps go straight from the Cutty Sark to the Mall, or some people may not go to the Cutty Sark. They might go into the Isle of Dogs or Canary Wharf. But at least the spectators would have a much better indication of where to see their runners and how well their runners have done. Next slide, please. One of the things about our society today is it's all about statistics and numbers and all this sort of thing. And running is no different. In fact, one of the things when I lecture on the subject is I do say to race organisers, it's important that you actually get your race results right. Because at the end of the day, it may well be that you've got a fantastic medal, you've got a fantastic course, your drinks system is great. But if you don't give the runner their accurate time and their position, then as far as they're concerned, you're a failure. But what has changed? You know, I spoke at the beginning about how we get the information out into the local press, but in actual fact, what now happens is that the information is actually fed in nationally. Next slide, please, Doug. And you can see here what is called the power of 10. And so therefore, within hours, and usually by lunchtime on Monday, at the latest by lunchtime on Tuesday, all the races from the weekend are actually fed into this power of 10, and you can actually see where you've done and where you are in the national rankings. And that one there, I deliberately picked out because you can see in second and third place, 2 Chichester runners. And that is an indication. If you actually go to the power of 10 for 2020, you will find that in the top 10, there are 5 people who were at the Chichester event. And the reason for that, of course, is that not long after our event was held, there haven't been many road races since. So that's probably a souvenir which I personally will keep for a long time. Next slide, please. In addition to the rankings of everybody, each person has an individual profile. I think most people will have heard of James Baker. He's probably the most prolific of runners in this area. That's a picture there of James. That's a bit about him. And on this slide, or on this part of the Power of 10 website, is every race that James has done. And he's actually raced 946 times. So if you want to check on any of James's 946 races, then it's there for you to see. And you can see these different times, these different years, different positions and different categories and this sort of thing. So that's another change which has happened over the years. Next, please. This one here is where in probably practice, we've come to the table a bit later than we have in some of the other parts of use of technology that we're talking about. And I think one of the reasons why is because, you know, we're of an age group, or by and large, a lot of us in the club of an age group where we're not so familiar with this. We don't use these social media to the same extent. Having said that, over recent years, we have developed a bit more. Bob and Diane and 1 or 2 others have actually made sure that we are starting to be in the forefront. We've got obviously Facebook, we've got Twitter and various chat rooms. But the thing is, one of the things about feedback from races these days is it's all instantaneous. You know, we finish our race at, you know, say 12 o'clock, and by the 1 o'clock or whatever, there's loads of comments coming in, complaints, not very often, good feedback and this sort of thing. So there is now a wealth of information about our race in different aspects of social media. I mean, I put at the bottom there, YouTube. If you look on YouTube at the moment, there's a clipping which is actually 4.5 minutes long, which shows every person starting our race back at Goodwood in February last year. So obviously there's been some significant changes. Next slide, please. And that's in effect just a summary of some of the savings we've benefited from. Next slide, please, Doug. And as I say, you know, lots of changes, but at the end of the day, things don't change. The will to win, the will to be a champion, to be a medalist, to be a podium, and to break records. And as far as the individual is concerned, it's not necessarily the course record or the time records, it's their own personal records, which is important. Thank you very much for listening. I hope some of you have enjoyed that. And if there are questions, I'll take them. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham. Absolutely fascinating talk. Interesting, Graham, you talked about the London Marathon.
Yeah.
When I did the virtual London Marathon, I actually used an app on my phone powered by TCS, and every mile it would tell me where I was in relationship to the London Marathon, and I would get claps and cheers. And the funny one was when I went supposedly past Tower Bridge. So
Yeah.
they actually made the whole race memorable for everybody who was doing it virtually. It was a brilliant app.
Yeah, but obviously that again is something which is quite recent. We did discuss whether actually we have the 10K as a virtual, but in the end we thought it was too much work and so forth. But yeah, I mean, for people who still want to run, then or like you did, you know, to run and walk, then yeah, the virtual races are fantastic. And again, it just demonstrates how technology has come along and improved significantly over the years that we've been talking about.
I did a midnight walk and I had a chip on my foot, you know, on my I was going to call them plimsolls. I haven't called them plimsolls in a long time, on my trainer. Right, who'd like to ask Graham some questions? Can I see any hands?
Mike Harvey?
Don Milton.
I'll go with Don Milton first. Don?
Okay, I would like to say, would you tell Carol how young she looked, 35 years?
That's very kind of you, Don.
And
I don't know whether people recognise the other three girls.
And I'm looking for an apprentice to take over the results interface from next year. If we get a volunteer.
We're
always looking for volunteers. I hope I haven't put anybody off.
Mike Harvey, did you have your hand up?
Yes, Caroline. Graham, you know, I came on here, I thought Graham was going to talk about his job, but he was talking about his big job. I'm sure, yeah, it's a huge job, that, Graham, and you've moved from running to organising, brilliant technology, etc. However, I just, you know, having done one marathon myself, one was quite enough for me. I did it to raise money, and I realised that the London Marathon, for instance, and all the marathons that billowed out from there, must have raised an enormous amount of money. And I don't know whether you know the sort of figures that charities have benefited from, because I know that this isn't the side of your activity, but people do run for, I think perhaps they run in our event, don't they?
Yeah, not so many, because, not being rude, but 10K is not the same sort of challenge as a half marathon or a marathon. My understanding, Mike, is that in recent years that somewhere of the order of £80 million has been raised by the London Marathon alone, which is a hell of a big sum. I mean, I've run 35 marathons over the years, and obviously running that number, I wouldn't actually collect for charity each year. But I remember when I did actually do London and I collected for charity, the people around here were so generous that I raised £6,000. So yeah, so it's great.
Yeah. Thank you.
I know lots of people actually do it because they've been impacted by conditions, their family, etc. And it's brilliant what people do to actually raise funds, and the London Marathon seems to be a very popular one. By the way, if anybody does want to run in the London Marathon, the charity that I ran for actually has would like people to volunteer to do either the half marathon in the London parks or the London Marathon next year. So if anybody fancies giving it a go, you know, sign up, let me know. I don't think I'll do another one, but I might.
Looks like David Bevan Thomas.
David?
Would like to take
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, Graham, for an excellent presentation. I'd just like to ask the question, it's a personal question. How much running and what type of running have you done?
Me?
Yes, you.
I started, and my first cross-country race was in 1955. After that, I did a lot of schoolboy running in Essex, and I have got an Essex vest for cross-country. I've also got a university vest for cross-country. After that, my if you like, serious running has not been that great. I do remember, because I've talked about categories, and I thought in my late 30s, you know, when I get to 40, cool, perhaps I'll get back to winning. But in actual fact, the competition for the over 40s was just as great as it was. Looking around the room, I didn't actually mention Richard Porter. Richard Porter and I used to train together for a number of years, and he and I had quite a good bit of competition in local races. But after that, really, I've been mainly an organizer now, David, for a long time. But as I said, I've run, well, I've actually started 36 marathons and I finished 35. And I am actually qualified to coach marathon runners. And as you know, Caroline was saying, that there are people who do run get stuck on wanting to run for different causes for different reasons. And I have over the years coached a significant number of people who said, oh, I want to run a marathon in memory of my mother, my father, or my brother, or whatever. And I have to help those and that sort of thing. But basically, in recent years, I'm essentially an organizer. And a lot of you will realize that in actual fact, I did have a knee replacement a few years ago. And obviously I was advised after that not to run. I do cycle or walk, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Back in the 1960s, I used to play squash with a Phil Baker. You mentioned James Baker. I wonder if that was his son. So I know Phil was a runner, I believe, as well.
Yeah, Mike, there's no relationship.
Okay.
Phil actually is a very good runner, and he actually continued his running after he left university. I've only seriously competed against Phil once in my life, and I was running for my university, and Phil was running for Oxford University, and that was in the Bussif Championships, I think in 1967 or 68. But
yes, that was about the year.
He's now president of the Chichester Runners.
Oh, okay. It's interesting because he was a good squash player. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good all-rounder. Good lad.
Yes.
Can I add?
Can I say? Yeah.
Sorry, can I add just a comment about James Baker? And it is that one of the ladies who consistently runs in our 10K is James Baker's mother.
That's right.
Thanks,
That's
Bob.
good.
Did you have a question?
I was just going to say, Graham, all these activities that you've been taking part in over the years, you forgot to mention our very own Chichester Challenge that you took part in.
Yes, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, and prior to that, Doug, although it was a march, I used to run the RMP march as well.
March as well. That's right. Yeah.
I've still, well, as you know, I've still got the medals at home. And if anybody wants some corporate challenge or RMP medals, they're very welcome to them.
Thanks, Greg. I can't see anybody else to ask a question. And I believe that I am doing the vote of thanks as president. Graham, absolutely fascinating talk. Actually, you led us through all the major changes that have happened, particularly with regards to technology and how that has impacted on marathon running and other sorts of running. I was really interested by that website you showed us, The Power of 10. I thought that was brilliant, and to be able to see how people are actually doing. And well done for all your devotion to actually making our people of this area and this country fitter and healthier by enjoying the sport of running. So thank you ever so much. And can I ask club members in the time-honoured fashion to give Graham a round of applause. Thank you ever so much, Graham.
Thank you, Caroline. And could I just say that whether it be Round Table or Rotary, I couldn't have done this, and we couldn't have achieved what we had done without the support of the club members. And I am indeed very grateful to all the club members who've supported us in 10K over nearly 30 years. Thank you very much.
I concur wholeheartedly with that. So it just behoves on me to mention the next meeting will be on Wednesday, the 27th of January. And we have a speaker of Denise Large, and Graham, you'll be giving
Not me.
a vote of thanks. Not you, Graham Jessop,
No,
Graham
the other Graham, yeah.
Okay, so here's to everybody in Rotary. Rotary the world over.
Rotary the world over.
Rotary world over.
Everybody, have a lovely evening. I should think some members will be joining you, Judy, in a glass of wine.
Too late, I finished it.
Oh, never mind, Bob. Take care, everybody. See you soon.
Oh, Margaret's gone. Has Margaret gone? I was going to say thank you to her. Oh, she's gone. Oh. Is she gone? Oh, it's a shame.
If anybody is still there, do we know what Denise Large's interest is, or what she will be talking?
I'll try and find out for you. I don't.
Yeah, I did have an email from Mike Turner today, preparing me for it. It's, oh, I forget what it's all about. She's got us some photographs to show. It's something to do with horse racing.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yes.
right. She was involved with setting up the original Grand National or something like that. You know, it's to do with horse racing anyway. Yeah.
Good, as long as she's not a stripper.
No, you were
Wouldn't be
still
allowed
fun.
to come.
It's your duty to attend a Rotary meeting, Don.
Take care. See you.
Bye-bye,
Yeah.
Don. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, there's Chrissy. Look, she's still there. Hi, Chrissy. Oh, she's muted.
Chrissy, I saw you waving at one point. I wasn't sure whether you were trying to talk or what, but I couldn't get you in.
And she's muted.
You're muted, of course.
You're muted.
She's trying to unmute. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I was waving to Richie.
Oh,
right.
sorry. So it's a good job I didn't embarrass you then, isn't it?
No, exactly. Thank you so much. Yes. No,
Right.
just waving because actually I'm talking. Yeah, we were talking actually yesterday with our coffee morning about me, you know, well with my iPad and sort of going further ahead. So I need to do that because I can't see the whole of the screen. And also today I was due to do a Skype meeting with social services for this new support lodger that I've got, only to find that I'm not au fait with, you know, I can't, you know, my system doesn't now, I don't know what the phraseology is, but I'm too old fashioned. I've got to upmarket myself.
Have you bought a new laptop or something? Did you say? Or
No, not yet. No, actually,
Not
we were
yet, no.
talking yesterday with our coffee morning about the iPad,
Yeah.
and I need to. I think I say mine is 7 or 8 years old, but today, although I'm au fait with FaceTime and everything else, with social services, with this new lodger that I've got, I was on a Skype Zoom, a Skype, okay,
Yeah.
and I got myself in, all of a sudden, I have apologies, but I haven't got iOS or I haven't got, I don't know, but my iPad is not now modern enough to pick up all this local technology.
Oh, it should be all right, I would have thought. But anyway, no. But because, you know, Skype is quite a simple program.
Zoom's
Well,
much
well, it's not, because the thing is actually that Joshua, say my 16-year-old lodger who knows all about it, he just says, you know, he says you just got to update. And I've had that a few times before, tried to go in onto something, but it says I don't know what it says. You're not IOC compatible or IO something or other. Anyway,
Mm.
so I do need to upgrade. Yeah,
I get that.
I
with
do
my
need to.
computer.
Oh right, but I
They
mean,
do,
you know,
you know,
it's quite. I
My
mean,
sister has
it's
it with her laptop as well.
yeah. I don't have a laptop. I've only got either my mobile
Yeah.
or my iPad, which has been sufficient. But I'm just beginning to realise really that I just need to, you know, sort of just go up to the next, yeah, you know, next more modern tech, because it just doesn't, you know, it just doesn't introduce itself at all. It just won't accept it. I'm not on it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, now Richard Porter, don't you start saying too much about technology, right? You just be careful what you're saying there.
He's keeping a clock.
He's
I
muted
can
anyway.
hear you. You're muted.
So you won't hear a lot.
You're muted.
You're muted anyway, Richard, so we
You're
can't hear you.
muted.
I know I was. Therefore, I couldn't say anything. I wouldn't be rude, Christine.
Right.
I'll use the right word. I'll call you.
Right now, so start again, Richard. What were you saying?
I said I'll call you Christine and not Chrissy. I don't want you to have a missy fit.
Chrissy.
He likes Chris.
Okay, sorry, I missed the initial introduction there.
Oh dear.
No, I really need to sort of, you know.
If you update, just remember it'll be out of date the day you buy it.
Yeah.
Sorry?
It's already out of date.
You will already be out of date because everything is. Something it's out of date straight away nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they keep dropping the prices of these things in the shops, isn't it? Because they can't keep pace with it. You know, there's so many.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what we were talking about yesterday, but it's just proved to me today with, you know, because obviously, you know, my situation anyway, professionally is moving on, and I'm not really, you know, able to Skype and all the rest of it because, you know, it just won't accept it. Just, you know. So, hi, Colin.
Hello, Colin.
Hello.
Hi, handsome. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm just trying to turn this thing off, and it's
No, don't. No, it's lovely
it's
to see
defeated
you.
me so far. Then I heard you speaking, Chris. I thought I'd leave it for the time being.
Oh, just
How are
stay
you
with
anyway?
us.
Pardon? Oh, are you coughing?
Oh,
Keep
we're
away
looking
from
forward to next year's conference.
Yeah. Where is it?
Got a boogie on the floor.
So what?
She
A
said,
boogie, yeah.
Boogie, yeah.
"Oh,
Boogie.
You'll have to get it in quick.
oh, Chrissy, you're all right, isn't it?"
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
just got something in the throat.
It's all right. Don't worry, Chrissy. Colin's had the jab.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going on Friday for my first jab.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's amazing how things change just over a 24-hour period with my company. I think I said that. I don't know whether I said it yesterday. Did I? That I got an appointment? No?
No, I don't think you did. No.
No, because it all happened yesterday evening.
Okay.
All of a sudden, you know, one thing's leading to another, and my company's given me a special form to fill in and take round to my GP. And then my company's going to phone my GP. And then all of a sudden, we're on this special hub to do with St. Richard's Hospital. And there it all is. And you've just got to sort of go into this hub because I am a caregiver. And I'm booked to go on Friday at 4:30.
Oh,
Very
good.
good. Where are you going to?
You know,
Where do you go to, Chris?
it is in fact St. Richard's Hospital, but it's a separate, not a separate unit, but I think a separate part. You know, you've got the main building, but then I don't know.
They're kept separate, are they?
Yeah, it's another medical section or something. So
Yeah, that's right.
I'm in for the first jab, guys.
Well done.
Well done. Well done.
Well, Peter Hayden Jones, bless him, has just sent this note to me for Rosemary, confirming that they're desperate for marshals down at Southsea and Tangmere
But they've got to be
to help
Yeah.
in the car park and all that, you know. So, but they must be under 70. So he's given the contact name here of the person. So
Well, that's all right.
Well, you know, the thing is, it's my understanding with everything that things change every 24 hours or 48 hours. You know, all of a sudden.
Other Rotary clubs have got this already sorted out in Kingston and all round there. They're already marketing for these events, you know. Yeah.
Well, tell me how silly that. Yeah, tell me how silly this is. My younger brother, who I sort of basically keep watch on, who he doesn't have a computer or a mobile home, phone, he's just phoned me tonight to say that in Croydon, it's a walk-in. He keeps insisting it's a walk-in vaccination place. And I keep saying, well, it's not. It must be just a COVID testing place. But he insists that you can just, you know, walk in and have this, you know, COVID jab, so to speak. But
I'm not sure about that. No.
Can it?
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, I went to Google, you know, searched it out.
Yeah, I've heard talk of people saying, you know, they queue at places at the end of the afternoon because sometimes if there are doses left over, you're standing around, they'll haul you in and say, you know, rather than throw doses away, because they said they've already thrown away about 40 odd doses because people just don't turn up. And so
and of course, it's starting to get a bit warm by that time, isn't it? So
yeah. Oh, people are just saying.
Where's this, Judy?
Well, they didn't say specific locations, but they're saying that some people are trying this. They're sort of standing, you know, they're being around at the end of a clinic, so that if some, you know, if there's we've got these doses left, what do we do with them? People can say, yeah, I'll take mine now. But I don't know. I mean, it depends whether you want to stand around. But Doug, I'd appreciate that email because, you know.
I'll ask Rosemary to put that on paper and send it round in a minute.
Send that to me.
Yeah.
And before you go, Richard, before you go, Richard, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for telling me to plug in my iPad, because I've still got 100% now. Thank you. Thank you so much for telling me that. After 8 years, I mean, my battery's not low anymore. I've just been Zooming and Skyping all day.
Yes, send that to me, Rosemary. A, I live in Selsey. B, I'm under 70.
Oh yeah.
I saw something on this website. I think it was on the local government. County Hall send out emails each month, and I looked on that, and they were wanting people. And when I looked, the only place that you could do it was the other side of East Sussex. And I thought, well, this is blooming stupid. I'm not going to worry about that.
No.
So I didn't do anything. But send that through, and I'll.
Yeah, I'll send it through in a minute. All right.
Yeah. No, my daughter.
Sorry, that's my alarm for my chicken in the oven.
At the end of the day, they had some left over in her where she works out of. So she rang her husband up. He came in. He happens to be a GP anyway, but not from the same practice. He got one as well.
Yeah. Well, they might as well.
Right.
I mean, it's, you know, it's ridiculous to throw doses away.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if they can use
Like,
them, it's
I
better.
thought, you know, normally they give you a time and you're not supposed to be there, and you've got to let them know if you can't. That's the way it works, because some people don't work that way, do they? But anyway, Chrissy, go and have your chicken if it's done. We would hate for you to lose your dinner.
Yeah.
All these people that have been contacting South today and
okay, lovely.
claiming that they've got to go from Chichester to Selsey to get their jab 7 miles.
Yeah.
We've got to realise that everybody in Selsey has to go to Chichester 7 miles to go to a bank. You know.
Okay, touche.
Yeah, we're all lucky to get one.
You haven't got any?
Don't have it.
Haven't you got any banks in Selsey then?
No.
Honestly, I didn't realise that.
Got biscuit tins underneath the mattress.
That's probably, saying that is probably the safest way now.
You don't get any interest
No.
here in the bank. So you may as well have a biscuit.
We used to have lots,
Yeah.
Bye,
One
bye
time-
everybody.
one time we had 9 petrol
Bye.
stations.
Bye.
We had 9 petrol stations. It went down to none.
Oh, okay.
Bye.
Asda have come in.
Oh.
They built one.
Yes, I've used that one a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cheap.
She's back again.
Oh, Chrissy, unplug it.
I am. I'm trying to go.
All right. I'm gonna end this meeting. Is that all right, guys?
See you on Monday if you're
Nice to
around.
see you.
See you on Monday.
Bye-bye.